Hello, everyone. My name's Tomato Anus. Today is September 17th, 2024. This is the Patreon monthly Speedrun Explained retrospective video. That's a mouthful. If you're watching this in 2025, well, you could have gotten it a whole year earlier by going to patreon.com/tomatoanus and supporting at the middle tier, but they release a year after, so you can still get it for free eventually. Today, we are going over the speedrun of The Outer Worlds. Any percent speedrun. This video came out December 14th, 2019. It was, I guess I did another one. I was like, I think this is the last of the Ridge ad reads, but I guess I did another. I don't remember if the Sekiro one does, but has a Ridge ad read apparently. Code Anus. This video, The Outer Worlds, I guess. Let's talk about that first. I was super excited for this game's release. You know, all the hype beforehand about it being the next, not next game, because they've released a lot of, I don't even know what I'm saying. A game from the creators of the original Fallout, kind of dipping their toe back into that style of game, at least in a modern perspective. And of course, super excited for it. I remember when the game came out, listening to the Giant Bombcast and being in, what state was I in? I might have been in Pennsylvania for work when I was doing my landfill job. I was out there surveying a site. I think they had a sulfur leak. I think, or maybe was I in Minnesota then? I can't remember. I just remember traveling for work and being on a site. I think I was doing sulfur readings where I walk around with like this sniffer on this string, and it tells pretty much, it logs where all there's higher sulfur concentrations at different points in the landfill. Anyway, I remember like listening to podcasts while walking around there and all the talk about this game when it was released and playing through it like right when I got home from my trip and really enjoying it, although wishing that there was a bit more, though I do think that there's a sequel coming out, right? Okay, Outer Worlds 2 has been announced, but no release date, TBD. Anyway, loved the game, just wanted more. And then hopping right into speedrunning it. The speedrun itself, I love being a part of a speedrun community at the start of a speed game's life, right? The discoveries are constant and there's so much excitement and so much energy in the community. And it's a really fun experience. So this was one of the first games that I really got into the speedrun of, like right as it was taking off. I was kind of around in the Cuphead community right when that speedrun was originally being routed and like following stuff and trying to do stuff myself. But this was the first time I think that I, from the beginning of a game's release, started speedrunning it right away. I really remember getting, a pretty respectable time pretty early on. But like even then, like Shero, who is insane, absolutely insane at so many games. I remember him at the time just blowing us all. Like I was like, how on earth is he saving this much time? Like he just very good at optimizing. He's the same way in the Fallout games. As of right now, Kyle is the as of 4 years ago actually. Looks like the February after release. Anyway, I really remember speedrunning this game. I remember the route early on. I then couched. I remember a bit of the route, especially because I couched for Shero's Outer Worlds run at AGDQ 2020, which was right after my anthology run. And I remember like we dupe gel and we do the whole thing with the combat and getting in the elevator. I remember bits and pieces. I'm sure as soon as I start watching it, I'm going to remember the route. The video itself, I honestly am not sure how much of this video.
This video is
Well, not yet. I honestly don't remember how much of this video. I don't remember a lot of this video is what I'm trying to say. I can't speak today. I don't remember a lot of this video is what I'm trying to say. I remember, I think at one point to avoid spoilers, I put like puppies on the screen. Maybe it was like little corgis or something. I think that was the first time that I gave a spoiler warning in a video. And I felt compelled to do that since it was so short after the game's release. It's something I do a bit more now. I'll do it whenever there's a game that has story moments that like can be spoiled, that you know, if the story is an important part of the game, or I feel the spoilers are big enough. So I think I remember doing that. Yeah, oh, there it is. There's the corgi. I'm curious how the editing is on that part. I don't remember like any jokes in this video even. Yeah, I just remember the run itself. The thumbnail, it's okay. It's simple. I think it's whatever. The video didn't pop off or anything on release. I talked a little bit about how my Prey video, of like these 3 videos I initially released, this was one that didn't do that hot. And then I think Goose Game as well. Then Outer Worlds as well. You know, it was kind of just back to back to back. And it's not like it falters confidence or anything. You know, I'm going to keep making videos because I love making them. But I remember being like, oh, damn, okay, I guess the success isn't guaranteed, you know? But yeah, I think I remember actually, I think this thumbnail I made at a like board game convention, a game convention in Chicago. My partner at the time had an event going on at like Navy Pier. So I was sitting around at this game convention for a little bit, and I brought my laptop and I made this thumbnail in just a couple minutes there. I was like, yeah, sure. So this is one, I don't know. If I were to go back and redo any thumbnails right now, I mean, I've already, of course, redone this one. I talked about that in a previous one. But if I were to go back and redo a thumbnail, I feel like this is a strong contender. I don't think it's particularly strong. It's eye-catching, sure. I think maybe I would change the black to match the YouTube's dark mode. That's something that I did with this video. The SpongeBob, the dark and the white. Well, the black and the white in the thumbnail, at least at one point, matched YouTube's dark mode. It looks like it kind of does right now. Kind of does. But I don't know. It's not necessarily inspiring, but it is simple, eye-catching. I liked it. I'm not sure if this guy is... I don't know what I would do nowadays, though, if I were to make this thumbnail, because I'm not sure how recognizable this dude is. Like, looking at it, I think of Pops from Regular Show before I think Outer Worlds. You know, it's not like this guy had much staying power in the gaming cultural zeitgeist. But anyway, I didn't even say off the rip what this video is, which I usually always do. This is the video where I go back and I watch old videos of mine, and I make notes about what they do and don't do well. And I take notes while doing so, and just trying to make better videos now by looking at my old videos and learn things. How things are presented, when things are presented well, when things aren't presented well, helps me a lot. And I feel like my videos have really been improving since I started doing this series like a year and a half ago. This is the 19th one of these I'm doing. Holy smokes. But anyway, let's get into this.
This video is sponsored by Ridge. Ridge is mostly known for their wallets, like this carbon fiber one.
I think that my dad has that one
as well, like this weatherproof
I still use this backpack.
With a built-in power bank pocket and USB port, this backpack is perfect to take on the go with its AquaGuard zippers, hidden RFID block.
That's where I put my keys.
And shock-resistant laptop holder.
Yeah, that's still my laptop, except it's covered in stickers now. I still use this backpack. It's a good backpack. I don't think they sell it anymore though. It's my go-to travel backpack whenever I bring in my laptop.
Go to ridge.com/anus.
Oh, I gave this one to my roommate at the
Code
time.
anus to get 10%
He
off
still
your
uses
order
it.
with free shipping and returns. Link is in the description.
Man, I'm so glad that I don't do ads like that anymore. Not Ridge. I mean, by like that, I mean doing what I do now for my ads, you know.
Hey everyone, my name's Tomato Anus.
Why is the
also known
auto
as
at
the Airbud of
360p?
speedrunning,
My
and This
lord.
is an any percent speedrun of The Outer Worlds. The goal of this run is to start a new game and to reach the end credits as fast as possible by any means necessary. If you'd prefer to watch this run without my annoying voice, there's a link in the description to a version of this run without my commentary. When we create our character, we max out dexterity, perception, and temperament for the bonuses we get for dodge, sneak, lockpick, and lie that those
Where on earth is my timer? Oh, I'm guessing I filmed this without the timer. I'm guessing I filmed this afterwards. I think that's probably it. I filmed this afterwards to fill in this time, and I didn't just edit my footage from the run of me setting this up. Unless the run just starts by loading a pre-made save. I honestly don't remember.
skills give us. We then tag stealth and dialogue for our skills, which increases our sneak to 40, allowing us to pickpocket NPCs, and also increases lie to 25, which is closer to our end goal of having 40 in lie. Tagging stealth also gets our lockpick to 40, which allows for us to pick locks without mag picks, and also increases the speed at which we pick locks, which comes in handy later. Aptitude doesn't really matter all that much, so we take
I feel like if I'm going to be doing this,
the one that increases our medical
Let me
skill
see.
by 1. Once we finish creating our character and
Watch
skip
for
the
the
first
timer.
2 cutscenes, we hit a loading screen, after which the run officially begins.
yeah,
We
okay, so then
Immediately
that is
skip
what I did. I filmed this part separate, recorded this part separate, the character creation. If I'm gonna do that, I really feel like I need to sit on the screens when I'm talking about them.
those and temperament for the bonuses we get for dodge, sneak, lockpick, and lie that those skills give us.
And then I should probably wait to say the next line until I change to that screen, and then I sit on that screen.
We then tag stealth and dialogue for our skills,
too-
which
like, too
increases
soon.
our sneak to 40, allowing us to pickpocket NPCs and
Like, it makes that second and a half makes a big difference, at least to me, in terms of keeping track of this and following this. But like, as soon as I tag these two, I should sit on this screen. This is now when I would like pause the footage and we would sit on this. Excuse me. We would sit on this while I finish explaining it, just so you can continue to look at it and not have to look at the next thing and the next thing.
it also increases lie to 25, which is closer to our end goal of having 40 in lie. Tagging
And like even that, it makes us closer to having our end goal of 40. Like it just kind of gets lost in the clashing of these visuals and this. So that's something that I definitely should have done. You know, it was before I knew how to do a freeze frame, I think, which is super, super simple. I just have a keyboard shortcut for it now. But it's, you know, I probably should have like just listened to the commentary and created the character alongside it, right? Or just pause the lines, or just like delay the lines. That's probably what I should have done.
stealth also gets our lockpick to 40, which allows for us to pick locks without mag picks and also increases the speed at which we pick locks, which comes in handy later. Aptitude doesn't really matter all that much, so we take the one that increases our medical skill by 1. Once we finish creating our character and skip the first 2 cutscenes, we hit a loading screen,
Conan O'Brien?
after which the run officially begins. We immediately skip through Phineas's dialogue and land on both Terra 2 and Captain Hawthorne. Our immediate goal is to make it to the Unreliable, which was the ship of the now deceased Captain Hawthorne. We're gonna run pretty much straight to it, utilizing little speed tech along the way like double tapping space to dash out of our crouched position when we're waddling beneath rocks and other stuff. You're going to know
This is the stuff that like this movement and stuff here that I'm talking about and you're going to see me do. This is the stuff that I remember like being like, how the fuck is Shero so good at this? And like other top runners who were ahead of me. It's like these guys are insane. This this can be really optimized and save like a few seconds.
We're going to run pretty much straight to it, utilizing little speed tech along the way, like double tapping space to dash out of our crouched position when we're waddling beneath rocks and other stuff. You're going to notice that we run past the enemies in this intro area and don't fight them. This is pretty standard for the run as a whole, as combat is largely avoidable and we're only going to be firing 3 shots the whole run. Spoiler alert for the general
This part
story of
especially.
the Outer Worlds, close your ears until the Shiba Inu on your screen goes away if you don't want to hear.
Well, that's what it was. It was a Shiba instead of a Corgi.
Our character was a passenger on the Hope, a ship sent from Earth to colonize Halcyon, which
How did that
of
move
the
on the
Outer
screen?
Worlds. Close your ears until the Shiba Inu on your screen goes away if you don't want to hear. Our character was a passenger on the Hope, a ship sent from Earth to colonize Halcyon, which is a star system on the fringe of known space. The Hope contained hundreds of thousands of colonists who are referred to in-game as geniuses, scientists, and engineers. Long story short, the Hope arrived 25 years late, and the people running Halcyon hid the fact that it ever arrived due to potential public outrage. A scientist named Phineas Wells began experiments to revive the colonists, who were placed in long-term hibernation and was branded a criminal by Halcyon's board. Phineas rescued us so we could help him liberate the other colonists.
I feel like this is a bit wordy of a recap. I don't know exactly how I would reword this story summary right now, but I feel like I would just omit a lot of these details and make it a lot higher level, make it a lot more succinct. I think it's good to go into details and whatnot, but again, it's a lot to keep track of without accompanying visuals, you know? I feel like you've like got to be really, I mean, and maybe this is just the way I watch YouTube videos, but I feel like you've got to be like really, really engaged and actively piecing it all together with the audio to get the full picture with what's going on with the visuals, because it's so different, you know? You can't really focus on what's going on screen too much because you have to focus on what's being said, I guess is the best way to put it, when the visuals and whatnot don't matter or don't match. So I think that because of that, a shorter story summary will almost always work out better. And I think that's something that I should employ more, because I feel like my summaries do get a bit wordy at times. Right now I'm working on the Simpsons Hit and Run video, and you know that run has a lot of like story. There's every mission has a reason to it, you know, but because it's a really long run and there's lots of time to catch up, or like there's almost always time to talk about a story update when it happens, you know, and it'll be a 1 sentence, 2 sentence update. It'll be like, Homer, there are security wasps and surveillance vans around Springfield now, so Homer thinks he's being surveilled and is going to follow a van. That's easy to follow as opposed to this.
Experiment arrived 25 years late, and the people running Halcyon hid the fact that it ever arrived due to potential public outrage. A scientist named Phineas Wells began experiments to revive the colonists, who were placed in long-term hibernation and was branded a criminal by Halcyon's board. Phineas rescued us so we could help him liberate the other colonists. When you play through the game casually,
Like, I feel like it's just a little too much. It's a little exposition heavy. I think just gotta reduce the exposition a bit. I think that's something that's like easily actionable as well, and it's something that I'll definitely keep in mind while continuing through these. And it makes sense that I feel like this is the first time that I'm really experiencing this with one of my videos, because I feel like this one did a good job of, you know, there was a lot of time, so exposition could be doled out slowly. Same with Oblivion. I think this is the first time where there's a lot to talk about at once, you know. I'm curious how what's another one that kind of I'm kind of curious how that will be in Titanfall 2 or Stardew. Deathloop even. Very curious. But yeah, I think just too wordy of a summary here.
can either side with Phineas to attempt to revive the colonists or side with the Halcyon Holdings corporate board to put the workers in the system into hibernation, freeing up resources for the elites in Halcyon. There's a hidden third ending that is unlocked by having low intelligence, which is actually the fastest way to finish the game and will be exactly what we do for this run. With that history lesson over, we arrive at the unreliable and meet Ada, the AI on board who identifies us as Captain Hawthorne so that she's able to take orders from us. After the Turing test, we pull up our character screen to take the Cheetah perk, which increases our sprint speed by 20%. We then fast traveled to back outside the ship and began running across the Emerald Vale. Ada informed us that the Unreliable's power regulator is...
Just general comment. The commentary, again, like the commentary is kind of behind, saying stuff that already happened. But that's pretty common for... Ooh, nice gold. It's pretty common for the videos that I was making at this time.
Been damaged and is in need of a new one. The reason our character was on the Hope wasn't because we were a genius or a scientist or an engineer or any of that. It's solely for our incredible gift of foresight. We know that in order to get a power regulator for the Unreliable, we'll need to salvage it from the transformer of either Edgewater, which is the main settlement in the Emerald Vale region, or from the Botanical Labs, which is a settlement comprised of deserters from Edgewater who grew tired of working conditions. This is why we run straight towards the geothermal plant to discover the fast travel location for it before turning around and running to Edgewater. It's thanks to our foresight that we know that if we're going to salvage a power regulator from one of these two places, we need to first divert the power away from the location that we'll salvage from. And we know that the only way to divert power away from a location is to go to the geothermal power plant and manually divert it. We can't go straight to the geothermal plant though, because in order to divert power, we need to have a passcode for the plant. That's why
I feel like the game audio is really low. Really, really low. There's like nothing here going on.
In order to divert power, we need to have a path.
This game audio is crazy low, actually.
Passcode for the plant. That's why we instead have to go to Edgewater before going to the geothermal plant proper. In Edgewater, we enter the Saltuna Cannery and ride the elevator up, being sure to appreciate the elevator music.
God, these runs being so optimized. Like Shero's 30 seconds ahead of me in this, and it's a big deal. If I'm within 30 seconds of Shero, that's a big deal for me. But it's just because these runs are so optimized. Like
the way.
Every little second and moment matters. Like it's crazy to see me using splits down to 2 decimals.
When our ride ends, we breeze through the conversation with Reed Thompson and internet darling Parvati Holcomb. Unfortunately,
oh yeah, Parvati was internet darling for a moment. I forgot about that.
We're leaving Parvati behind because we're only here to get the passcode from Reed, after which we fast travel away to the geothermal plant itself. When we load in, we fire the final 2 bullets of the entire run to blow up a barrel to manipulate some enemy AI and then leap over a fence to enter the geothermal plant. Inside the plant, we're going to pick up a tube of stimulation.
I wish that I had gone into a little detail on how that manipulates the AI. I think that sounds really interesting.
Of the entire run to blow up a barrel to manipulate some enemy AI and then leap over a fence to enter the geothermal plant.
Like, I'm something else I've been trying to work on is not getting too in the weeds on some explanations. I think detail is good, right? I think detail's great. That's why a lot of people watch. But I try and keep it a bit surface level as well, because if I were to go into all the detail, we would be there for 3 hours, and that's not a feasible video for me to make. But I do wish that I'm sure I cut it for time, but I wish that I went into detail, even if briefly. How does blowing up the barrel manipulate the AI? Is it just drawing their attention to over there? Because even just saying that, manipulate some enemy AI by distracting them to the barrel area. Something like that, Doesn't have to be too wordy. Doesn't have to break down all of the players involved, but it would have been nice to have a little extra detail there.
Inside the plant, we're going to pick up a tube of stimulation and then use Reed's passcode to unlock the door to the rest of the plant. We then run through the passageways, flipping all 3 switches required to divert the power. While we do this, there's a small bit of luck involved with whether or not some robots will block your path, but most of the time you can quickly run around them. The only time it can
God,
really
this
be an
part
issue
sucked.
is right after flipping the
This part, I remember this part of the run. This part sucked, not because it was hard or anything, and not because if the robots blocked your path, you lost a ton of time, but it was always enough time because, again, the super optimized run. This part sucked.
time you can quickly run around them. The only time it can really be an issue is right after flipping the final switch, due to how narrow the walkway is. Also, we want to keep moving while we flip all the switches. If you're fluid with how you move your camera and how you strafe, you can flip the switches without ever coming to a complete stop, saving fractions of a second since we don't have to build up speed again. Once we flip the upcoming final switch, we're going to
Ooh, that was
run to exit
good.
the building before we divert the power, being sure to crouch as we access the door. This is because we're technically in combat.
There's a part later in this run that sucks even more that I'll get to, but
Once we flip the upcoming final switch,
that might be the first time I've ever called something out like that. That might have been the first time I ever did that. That's good.
really be an issue is right after flipping the final switch, due to how narrow the walkway is. Bots will block your path, but most of the time you can quickly run around.
I want to rewatch this section knowing that that's coming, and I want to try and see if I can pick up on anything that I was like rewording.
The only time it can really be an issue is right after flipping the final switch, due to how narrow the walkway is.
I do wish that there was at least a mention of how many switches need to be flipped. Because I have no clue. I have no clue when that final switch is. I mean, I guess I can look at the things on screen. It's a bit hard to pick that up as a viewer, though. The only reason I picked up that those were there is because I paused and looked around.
So we want to keep moving while we flip all the switches. If you're the walk,
Did
the
I
only
say
time
how
some
many?
robots will block your. While we do this, there's a small flipping all three switches
3.
required to
Okay,
divert
I
the
did say
power.
it. Never mind.
While we do
Disregard
this,
that I said
there's a
that.
small bit of luck on them.
Disregard that
The
I
only time it
complained.
can really block your path, but most of the time you can quickly run around them. The only time it can really be an issue is right after flipping the final switch, due to how narrow the walkway is. Also, we want to keep moving while we flip all the switches. If you're fluid with how you move your camera and how you strafe, you can flip the switches without ever coming to a complete stop, saving fractions of a second since we don't have to build up speed again. Once we flip the upcoming final switch, we're going to run to exit the building before we divert the power, being sure to crouch as we access the door. This is because we're technically in combat right now, and you're not able to access terminals in the outer worlds while you're in combat. By crouching as we exit the building and then immediately re-entering, it should de-aggro the enemies that were chasing us in the plant, allowing us to divert the power. We still have to run to the terminal where we divert the power though, which requires us to run right past a robot that has its back to us. We have to jump as we pass the robot and access the door to the next hallway. If we were to just run right by it, then it would hear our footsteps, turn around, and see us. Jumping makes it so that the robot hears us just as we leave the room, not giving it enough time to turn around and see us and have us enter combat again. It's thanks to this that we're able to access the terminal and divert the power away from the botanical labs exactly as Reed requested. Outside,
I remember that last robot sometimes being annoying. Also, I really remember this robot that flies up on the
we
right
divert the
in just a moment. Right here, this guy on the right, that guy sucked. I hated that guy.
door to have time to turn. Outside, we have to run a short distance to the left before we fast travel. Otherwise, our fast travel would be blocked by a nearby enemy. Once we load into Edgewater, we immediately pull up our character screen and level up our dialogue by 15. After that, we pull up our inventory, drop the stimulation that we picked up earlier, exit our inventory, and quick save quick load. Once the game loads, we pick up the stimulation and quick save quick load again. When the game loads again, you'll realize that the stimulation is still on the ground. This is a duplication glitch that we utilize to get a total of 18 stimulation. For some reason, this glitch doesn't work in every location in the game, like it doesn't seem to work in the geothermal plant, so we have to do it in Edgewater. To get to 18 stimulations, we dupe 6 individual tubes, then drop the stack of 6 and dupe that 3 additional times. We follow this up by taking all of the stimulation at once. Rather than the effect of stimulation stacking, the duration of the effect stacks. So rather than having a 20-second effect, it will be a 360-second effect. By the
God,
way,
that's
the
so
effect of
nuts.
stimulation is that it increases our movement speed by 20%, which obviously is very good for a speedrun. After rubbing lotion all over our body, we head on over to the Saltuna Cannery to tell Reed all about how we diverted power from the botanical gardens, only to realize
One, again, game audio is way too low. It's kind of, I hate hearing myself in like a vacuum like this. Not because I don't like listening to my own voice. I mean, we all know I love hearing me talk, but like I'm so used to my own voice, it doesn't get to me like that. But it's just it's too quiet. There needs to be a bit more going on. It's why people use background music, right? Because it's nice to have not just the voice. It's just too quiet, way too quiet. I don't know why I never picked up on that while editing, because none of the other videos around here are like this. None of these had audio issues, so I wonder what it was about this run.
that we've made a grave mistake.
Also, I feel like after rubbing lotion all over our body, I feel like that's like the first joke of the video, really. I don't really have any notes on that or any comments, just kind of an observation.
Rubbing lotion all over our body, we head on over to the Saltuna Cannery to tell Reed all about how we diverted power from the botanical gardens, only to realize that we've made a grave mistake and fat-fingered the wrong button, directing power away from Edgewater. Reed asked us why we did it, and rather than tell him the truth about our error, we intimidated the ever-loving shit out of him and proceeded to take the power regulator for ourselves and return to the unreliable. Here we head on over to the ship's transformer and insert the power regulator, and then jump off the upper level to return to Ada. Normally when you fall from such a height, you're slowed momentarily as you take fall damage, but because we're absolutely lathered in lotion, our joints take the drop like a champ and we aren't really slowed down at all.
There you go. There's the punchline to that setup from earlier. I like it. It's just being goofy about how silly the speedrun mechanics are.
With the ship powered, we breeze through a brief chit-chat with Phineas, who tells us about his grand plan and what we should do next. We're going to semi-follow his instructions by heading to the Groundbreaker, which is an orbital station in Halcyon and the only place in the entire system not under the control of the Halcyon Holdings corporate board or any other corporation. Upon arrival, we have to get through customs, which is as easy as just saying hello to Corporal Leonard Wheeler. Our overall goal right now is to get to Byzantium, because once we're there, we can get fuel in order to skip the Hope to its destination. In order to land in Byzantium, though, we need to get a nav key, which Udom Bedford can give us in the Groundbreaker. Firstly, though, we steal an item from a safe in a room full of people by hiding in a blind spot in the corner, allowing us to go undetected. This item is the official seal of Halcyon Holdings Board. But I digress. We need to get the nav key from Udom Bedford, but in order to get it from him, we need to get an item for him in return. That item happens to be the official seal of Halcyon Holdings Board. If that sounds familiar, that's because I literally just said it 15 seconds ago. With the seal in hand, we spoke with Udom, who is voiced by the same guy who voices Knight Reese in Fallout 4, and also voices Wolf in the English audio of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. After talking with
So all of those tasks that I just did, and I don't even know where it was, Groundbreaker. Honestly, I was kind of lost as to what the reason for them were. And like, again, I was paying attention, but I feel like when it's a tough balance of giving as few details about the story, or not as few, but trying to keep the story at a higher level of explanation so that it's relatively general and people don't get lost in the details of the minutia of the plot, but then relating what I'm doing in the route to the story. What is what I'm doing? How does this relate to our goal?
Bedford can give us in the Groundbreaker. Because once we're there, we can get fuel in order to screw customs, which is as easy as just saying hello
So
to
let's try and
Corporal
follow
Leonard Wheeler.
this.
Our overall goal right now is to get to Byzantium, because once we're there, we can get fuel in order to skip the Hope to its destination.
Okay.
In order to land in Byzantium, though, we need to get a nav key, which Udom Bedford can give us in the Groundbreaker. Firstly, though, we steal an item from a safe in a room full of people by hiding in a blind spot in the corner, allowing us to go undetected. This item is the official seal of Halcyon Holdings Board. But I
Okay.
digress. We need to get the nav key.
You
from
know,
Edom
it's
Bedford.
like, okay, it's the official seal. Why do I need that? You know, it would have just been nice to have a little more context in terms of how that pertains to the game, to the route. I could even say this is an objective in a quest we have to hit, you know, even if it's just like that. Like, is this an optional thing that's going to make me go faster? Is this a quest item that unlocks dialogue trees? Like, it's just nice to have the full context as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't think all context needs to be revealed up front every time, but you know, it's nice to have an actual, there's no explanation for our action here. It'd be nice to have at least some sort of explanation for why I did that.
But in order to get it from him, we need to.
And that is honestly something that I really struggle with even today with my videos, is why, like, you know, the why and linking, talking about routing more rather than just the exploits. I really like when I get to talk about routing, but the thing is I often have a hard time finding the time to talk about routing because there's so much to explain with these runs, and sometimes it all just, you know, comes together serendipitously where the explanations tie into the routing really well and there's enough time to talk about it all. And then there's other times when like the routing like would require 10 minutes of pause, and I'm not sure that that's worth it for the context, you know? I'm not sure that that much extra time is worth it because I want these to be brief. I want them to be punchy. So that's something that's always tough. And I think this video does really fail in that department, at least so far for me. And I think that part of it might be because of how convoluted, it's not even a convoluted plot, but the video makes it kind of feel convoluted because it's like, you know, it's kind of word salad being thrown at you.
But I digress. We need to get the nav key from Edom Bedford, but in order to get it from him, we need to get an item for him in return. That item happens to be the official seal of Halcyon Holdings Board. If that sounds familiar, that's because I literally just said it 15 seconds ago.
Well, I got you baited. I got you baited. I like that bit and I don't. It's funny because like I just got, right? But it made me question my own sanity.
With the seal in hand, we spoke with Edom, whose voice.
I think just in general, this video has been a tough follow for me so far. Just because there's so much going on with the plot and needing things.
By the same guy.
We'll see how I feel at the end. I don't want to get got again. I don't want to get got by past tomato anus.
Who voices Knight Reese in Fallout 4 and also voices Wolf in the English audio of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. After talking with Edom and letting him know that we have his seal and that all is good, he handed over the nav key and we fast traveled back to the Unreliable, where we then captained the ship to Byzantium, landing at Adjutant Akande's landing pad. Then captained the ship to the nav key and we fast traveled back to the Unreliable, where we then captained the ship to Byzantium, landing at Adjutant Akande's.
I feel like I'm just having a hard time placing where the issue is. It might be because it's like unnecessarily wordy. It's like it's kind of like, you know, I feel like everyone makes this joke at least once where they're like, "Oh, we're writing a how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" "Oh, well, first you put your hand on the bag of bread, then you undo the twist tie, then you take the twist tie off of the bag, then you open the bag, then you reach your hand in the bag, then you put your hand on the bread in the bag, then you grab the bread in the bag, and then you pull your hand and thus the bread out of the bag, and then you place the bread on the counter and put your hand on the drawer in the kitchen, and then you pull on the you know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like it's too many details. It's too many little things. Handed over the nav key, fast travel back to the Unreliable, where
we then captained the ship to
Byzantium, landing at the Adjutant Akande's landing pad. I could just be like, yeah, we use the nav key to go to Byzantium. We're at this person's landing pad. Saves time, less confusing. I think that might be what I'm really trying to get at. We'll see how I feel by the end.
Byzantium, landing at Adjutant Akande's landing pad. Normally when you arrive in Byzantium, you begin a series of quests which eventually leads up to you getting access to the Ministry of Accuracy and Morale. Instead, we're just going to implement the biggest and really only sequence break in the speedrun. We attempt to pickpocket this Percival dude, who will then chase us and come within range of a locked door that will automatically open, demonstrating the horrors of face scanning technology that's invading our lives today. This door
go off
is normally locked with no way to open it other than doing a lot of quests. With access to the chairman's office, we're able to access his terminal to print ourselves a key to the ministry, skip a cutscene, and then fast travel back to the Unreliable. The only reason why we returned to the Unreliable was to grab the holographic shroud, because we're going to be needing it in a second. We then returned to the HHC.
What is the holographic shroud?
The only reason why we skip a cutscene and then office, we're able to access his terminal to print ourselves a key to the ministry, skip a cutscene, and then fast travel back to the Unreliable. The only reason why we returned to the Unreliable was to grab the holographic shroud, because we're going to be needing it in a second.
Why couldn't I have just said skip a cutscene and then fast travel back to the Unreliable to grab the holographic shroud? It completely eliminates the need for this sentence and a half.
Second. We then return to the
and then have something pop in that says holographic shroud provides whatever it does, invisibility maybe. I don't remember what the holographic shroud does. Have something like that pop in. I think that's the natural conclusion for that.
HHC building and gotten another damn elevator to go to the main floor. Once it's through, we're going to sprint to the exit and hurtle over the receptionist desk to go out.
See, like right there, I'm pretty sure I'm dancing to the music, but we can't even hear it because we haven't heard a single thing in this run. Could we even hear the explosions back here? I don't even remember. What time am I at? 11:03. Okay. Let me see if I could even hear the goddamn explosions when I did this back here.
Passageways, geothermal plant. Thermal plant itself. When we AI and then leap over a fence to enter the geothermal plant. Inside the plant,
barely hear that shooting. Barely hear that shooting.
Outside. There we'll run past a mech gardener and use our new key to enter the ministry. In the ministry, we're going to be calling yet another elevator, but this one will have a delay before it opens because the last person to use it went down, so we'll have to wait for it to arrive at our floor. While we wait, we're going to keep spamming inhalers to keep healing ourselves as we get shot at.
This part sucks. This part that I'm talking about here, this part's going to really suck. This part is, it doesn't suck in that, like, you can lose a lot of time here. It sucks in that you can just lose the run.
In the ministry,
we're going to be
calling yet another elevator, but this one will have a delay before it opens because the last person to use it went down, so we'll have to wait for it to arrive at our floor. While we wait, we're going to keep spamming inhalers to keep healing ourselves as we get shot at, as well as lockpick a door to be able to grab the UDL identity cartridge from a locker. This cartridge is what we'll passively use in the shroud that we grabbed from the Unreliable, which allows for us to pass by enemies in heavily guarded areas in a disguise so they won't attack us.
And getting at this, like, I remember in Sharrow's GDQ run, the guards blocked him at this door. That happens all the time. It's really easy to get trapped in this room. This part really sucks. The volume of the game went up since I'm not talking, which is nice, but it should have been higher.
Attack us.
Like, the volume of the game audio in the moment that it's about to be should have been what the background audio was the entire time. It's nice here in the game.
When we begin the elevator ride down, we spam quick save, and as soon as the pop-up appears indicating that we've saved, we then quick load. This is because one of the guards above us will somehow still talk to us despite us going down several floors in the elevator, but quick saving and quick loading breaks his ever-seeing gaze. When we finally arrive in the lab, we follow the yellow line on the floor, which will bring us to the main research.
making a prediction. Wizard of Oz joke incoming.
Room where the fuel that we'll use for the Hope is located. The fuel in question is
There's no way I don't.
dimethyl sulfoxide, which you'll get
No
really
way I
comfortable
don't.
with in real life if you ever synthesize dimethyl sulfoxide, which you'll get really comfortable with in real life if you ever synthesize polymers in a lab. The only
Dimethyl sulfoxide. Oh, DMSO.
issue is that by taking the DMSO, we're taking a handful of scientists off of what is essentially life support. But hey, the ends justify the means. After we yoink the DMSO, we head to the exit, which, surprise, surprise, is another fucking elevator.
DMSO, just for the uninitiated. I talked about
Support. The DMSO, synthesize polymers and
pretty much it's a really powerful solvent, which means things can dissolve in it, and you use it when you're making polymers, which are more or less chaining together molecules to be super long. Most things in our everyday life that are like manufactured are polymers, and DMSO you use for everything. You use it in polymer synthesis a lot, especially like in college labs.
After we yoink the DMSO, we head to the exit, which, surprise, surprise, is another fucking elevator. When we finally make it back outside, we're going to immediately fast.
I feel like that didn't land like I thought it did. I feel like that's something that, I don't feel like we've been in a whole lot of elevator rides, and they're relatively short, I feel like that's something that, like Forest for the Trees, it felt like a bigger deal to me than it actually is. Maybe it's because I'm pausing the video a lot, but that didn't feel like it landed like I thought it did.
Elevator. When we finally make it back outside, we're going to immediately fast travel back to the Unreliable, where we'll have a brief dialogue with Ada and Adjutant Akande. Fun fact, the voice of Udom isn't the only voice actor in this game who worked on Fallout 4. The voice of Ada is actually the same person who voiced Nora. After our powwow finishes up, we then head on over to Phineas's lab. At Phineas's lab, we don't have much to do other than talk with the man himself. When we skip through his lines, we're going to eventually hit one line that for some reason is unskippable. While we wait for the line to finish, we're going to position our mouse cursor in a spot that lines up with fast traveling back to the Unreliable once we finish up the dialogue, so we just have to click rather than move our mouse around. This is a tactic that we've used all throughout the run. After the dialogue finishes up and we fast travel back that cursor in a skippable. While we wait for the line to finish, we're going to position our mouse cursor in a spot that lines up with fast traveling back to the Unreliable once we finish up the dialogue, so we just have to click rather than move our mouse around. This is a tactic that we've used all throughout the run. After the dialogue finishes up and we fast travel back to the ship, we can't help but feel a little dejected that we didn't get to see Ferb hanging out at the lab. At the Unreliable, we navigate on over to the Hope and have one final conversation with our spouse/lawyer before heading out into the final area of the speedrun. The first thing we'll do upon exiting the Unreliable is reroute the power from the Unreliable to the Hope's auxiliary power supply, which repowers the Hope's skip drive. Also, while we do this, we look down while running because the game tends to hitch a bit right upon exiting the Unreliable, which slows down your running. With the skip drive powered, we then have to head over to the communication room where we're going to patch Nora through so that she's able to communicate with the Hope's central computer. Also in the communication room,
What? Okay.
The Hope's auxiliary power supply is reroute the power from the Unreliable to the Hope's auxiliary power supply, which repowers the Hope's skip drive. Also,
spoiler alert. Okay, what's that in regards to? Is that in regards to the line that was just said or something that's about to happen? Because here I talk about looking down.
While we do this, we look down while running because the game tends to hitch a bit right.
What is that spoiler alert doing for the viewer?
Upon exiting the Unreliable, which slows down your running.
That's not a spoiler.
With the skip drive powered, we then have to head over to the communication room where we're going to patch Nora through so that she's able to communicate with the Hope central computer.
Is that a spoiler?
Communication room, we have to pick up the Hope Bridge keycard before we can progress to the final moments of the speedrun. We then can ride the final godforsaken elevator in the run.
That's not a
Normally
spoiler.
At this point in the game, you can choose to...
Oh, okay, now the dog is coming up.
either skip the hope to tar elevator in the run. Normally at this point in the
I feel like that spoiler alert text should have came up with the dog, just because I almost missed the dog coming up, if I'm being honest. It comes up very gradually, and it's not like it has a drop shadow or anything, so it kind of gets flattened into the video. I don't the text of spoiler alert like going up above it and fading out while the dog comes up as well, like that would have been good. That would have been good, but as is, that spoiler alert was meaningless text on the screen as far as I'm concerned.
game, you can choose to either skip the hope to Tartarus inside with the board or skip it to Terra 2 inside with Phineas. As I mentioned at the beginning of the run, we gave our character below average intelligence, which unlocks some new dialogue choices. One of these choices is to skip the hope manually, foregoing the ship's central computer, which would normally perform all of the calculations and commands. By choosing this dialogue option, we get the secret ending of the game where we skip the hope into the sun. The run officially ends as soon as we finish the dialogue and the final cutscene begins. If you made it to the end of this video, I truly
Whoa,
can't
my
thank
God, microphone quality jump.
the dialogue and the final cutscene
Different recording sessions, jump scare.
hope into the sun. The run officially ends as soon as we finish the dialogue and the final
Listen to my mic quality here compared to in 5 seconds.
cutscene begins. The run officially ends as soon as we finish the dialogue and the final cutscene begins. If you made it to the end of this video, I truly can't thank you enough for your time and support.
So
I
much
also
more
wanna give a
muffled.
quick shout out to Shero, who's the current record holder for this run, for reviewing the script and making sure I didn't say anything incorrect. Shero's also going to be running this game at the upcoming AGDQ,
I was there.
so be sure to check him out there. I'd also like to specifically say thank you to those of you who have decided to support the channel on Patreon. It's completely
Sounds like I really need to clear my
not
throat.
necessary, but you guys choose to do it regardless, and your generosity is both perplexing and truly appreciated. If any of you, patron or not, have any feedback on this video or recommendations for videos to make in the future, feel free to join my Discord server. There's a link in the description, and we have text channels for both video discussion and suggestions, so please join and let me know what you have to say. That's all for this video though. This was an any % speedrun of The Outer Worlds. I've been Tomato Anus, and I hope you have an above average day.
Overall, I'd say looking back at all the videos I've covered for this so far, all the Fallout videos, my Doom, Dishonored, Prey, Oblivion, Goose Game video, I think that this is my second least favorite of the videos that I've watched so far for the series, with the first being the speedrun of New Vegas with New Glitch. I think that video, I mean, you can go watch my retrospective. I feel like I hated it. I don't hate this video, but I feel like it's kind of a nothing burger. I don't think that the speedrun, there's not a whole lot of crazy stuff in this speedrun, right? So because of that, I think the focus of the video shouldn't be on just explaining the tech. I think more focus should have been put on the routing, you know? If the tech isn't terribly interesting and this run is a lot of running optimized lines, I feel like maybe more focus on that, or what makes this game interesting from a routing perspective. I think that's what the focus should have been on. You know, it's kind of just asking the question, what is the most interesting part about this speedrun, and then making sure to focus on that. I think that that's an important thing to ask, is what is the most important aspect of this speedrun? Not important, interesting aspect of this speedrun. I think that that's a great starting point, not just for these videos, but, you know, any videos in general. If you yourself are going to make a video about something, like what is the most interesting aspect of that? Make sure you cover that. It's like there's a old rule of thumb with writing stories where it's like the story the viewer is reading, or like the story that the reader is reading or viewing or whatever and experiencing, it should be the most interesting part of your main character's life, right? I watched the movie Wild Wild West starring Will Smith a couple weeks ago. Not a good movie. It's not good. It's not worth your time. It's not a so bad it's good movie, but that movie has so many points where things are mentioned offhand. Like the fact that the Fountain of Youth exists. And I'm like, why isn't the movie about this? This sounds 5 times more interesting than what I am currently watching, right? You don't want to have the people watching your movie think something not in the movie is more interesting than what is in the movie. And I think that, it's not like the viewer knows the route to this run and is like, that's more interesting. But it's just like, as someone who does know, that's definitely the more interesting aspect of it. I should have really focused on that. I hope that makes sense. I think that's the big takeaway. But all the takeaways I had, all the notes I made, first is, super minor stuff in that intro. The lines were just out of sync, and I should have just delayed the gameplay. I don't know why I didn't pause on those screens. I don't know why I didn't think to do that. That wasn't good. That really wasn't good. The story summary at the beginning, way too wordy. Definitely should have been higher level and more succinct. Because when the visuals on screen don't match what is being said, the viewer kind of has to focus on one or the other. And if they're, watching the run and trying to pay attention to the run, it's easy to fall behind. And just falling behind by one line in commentary, in exposition, it's kind of a rough spot to be. So, game audio is crazy low, horrendously low. I do not like that. I wish I had gone into a little extra detail with manipulate the enemy AI by blowing up the barrels. Like, how does that manipulate them? Because again, that sounds interesting. Why wasn't that talked about, right? This video did include the first time that I was able to at least pick out where it was evident that I altered the script to include different tensing. When I said like upcoming switch, that was great. That was great. That's something that I try and work on constantly. I'm always trying to make sure the commentary is synced with the audio, and that everything flows and that it's easy to follow, right? The video really, really fails to provide a route, any semblance of, I guess not any semblance, that's being a bit unfair. I talk about the general route, but and I talk about the story, but I failed to really feel the explanation of the route come together, right? There's very little context as to why certain things are being done. Of course, sometimes it's for the joke. I can't believe that I got boomed like that. I can't believe I got boomed. But it's just in general, I think the route, like I said, there's almost zero focus on the route. It's a lot of tech. It's a lot of tech in this run. And I don't know why I was so tech heavy in those explanations. And another note I wrote is that the explanations just feel like a bit pedantic in their importance. Like I'm just describing every tiny individual step, which really bogs it down, makes it confusing. And I think that just amplifies that's not a word. Amplify. What word did I want? It perfectly encaptures how the focus on this video is wrong, right? And that's my last note. Like, what is the interesting aspect of this speed run? It's not what I explained. It's really not what I explained. So those are the big notes I took away. I think there's a lot to chew on with that. I think that it's, it's like picking the right direction for the video. I think if I had a director's credit on this video, I would not rate it too highly. But yeah, I think that's all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting on Patreon if you do so. Thank you for just watching if you're watching in the year 2025 or later. Yeah, I think that's about all. I hope you guys have an above average day. Peace.